On behalf of Marston Holdings, I'm really pleased to welcome Nick Ruxton-Boyle. Nick is Director of Environment at Marston Holdings, a chartered transport planner. Nick spent 15 years in the public sector developing data-led sustainable transport plans and policies and delivering active travel and demand management schemes. He joined Project Centre in 2017 before moving to Marston Holdings in 2019 to lead on the group's air quality and carbon reduction business. Nick works with public and private sector clients across the UK and across Europe, supporting environmental schemes such as clean air zones and low emission zones, with market-leading smart city technology, data and enforcement services. Nick also writes a monthly blog for Air Quality News. He sits on the BPA Innovation Board, and he's also chair of the editorial panel for the CIHT magazine. Nick's going to speak to us about data-led air quality improvement and transport decarbonisation, and show us some real-world public sector case studies to demonstrate the use of data, including good data collection and visualisation before, during and after scheme delivery.
Probably not going to use the microphone, if that's all right, people can hear me. And thanks for that very full introduction, Mark. I suppose one thing I left out is that I'm a chemist as well. My first degree is chemistry. So if you need to know anything, Nathan, about photosynthesis, we can chat later. Right, so I work for Marston Holdings, and you may not know Marston Holdings, but you may know some of our brands. We've got 8 core brands, and Vortex, Project Centre and Vidler are our main public sector brands. We're about 5,000 people in the UK, across 200 sites, and we mostly work for public authorities. We've got about 250 clients. And last year, our Scope 1 and 2 emissions were about 5,000 tonnes of carbon, which is about the same as Iceland. So, you know, a decent amount of emissions. And we've had about a 40% reduction over the last couple of years. Right, so let's see if this works now. So that's my agenda today. I'm going to move 3 core areas really: data, air quality and decarbonisation. And we're going to start with the video. Let's see if this works. Is this going to work, Harriet?
Yeah, go on, press the next page.
Press the next one.
Promise.
There we go. Right, so I'd love to say this was one of my visualisations, but it's not. This is NASA. This is super cool. Now this is global temperature over the... you've not seen this before today, have you?
Yeah.
You have? Well, Harry, you should have said, right, moving quickly on. But it's super cool, isn't it? It's brilliant. It really sets the scene for why we need to talk about carbon. Right, let's go to the data then. Right, that's saved me 2 minutes, hasn't it? That will get us back on schedule. Right, so where are we? Data. So data's everything. Just as Nathan talking about data, I'm showing you guys talked about data earlier. Data is everywhere. We create so much data these days, councils, businesses, and there is so much of it, but we need to work out what to do with it. I heard the term data literacy in the debate, and we now need to be data literate, as well as carbon literate, as well as whatever it is our day jobs are literate. So there's a real, data is huge, and there's so much data about and within our sectors, and the digitisation of services is really creating so much more data, be it air quality, be it enforcement services, be it transport services. Most services are now digitising, and the apps Nathan was talking about when you go into a building, all this is just data. And you've not seen the Lego one before today, have you?
Yeah.
Yeah? You kidding?
I have.
I love this Lego slide because it really tells a great story. So this is data, and this is a data journey, and most of us are at the top. We know we've got data, but it's all in a jumble. We don't know what to do with it, but you can sort it, you can arrange it, you can present it like NASA have done really well, and then you can explain it with a story, and that's what we're starting to do with our clients. And on the right is a visual representation of the data that we're collecting for our clients that helps them make better decisions for the services they provide for the public. Smart cities, you done this one? This exact Just sorry.
No.
So, smart cities, we've all heard of a smart city. We talk about smart cities all the time. There's actually no agreed definition of what smart city is. It's different things to different people, to different sectors, to different organisations. And I had a look preparing for this, and as no one could really agree what it is. And most cities, towns, businesses are on that smart journey somewhere. And it's all about data and connectivity. And I really like this image because it's really complex but it's really simple. And I think you share these slides, so you can have a look at this in great detail. I cannot remember where I got it from. I think it was one of the big audit houses, but I really like it. And what it's all trying to do is just trying to improve the human experience in our towns and cities. That's exactly what a smart city is trying to do using data. And first case study, I've got about 4 case studies today. This is a digital enforcement service for a London client. Another dashboard, you see lots of dashboards today. Data is best presented on a dashboard. And this is for enforcement of fines that one of our clients gives to drivers using camera technology. This is actually foreign collection. So what we do, we use the data to help us target, where we should be helping our client, which languages we should be using, which countries we should be focusing on. So this really helps us. What trends, persistent evaders. So this helps us to help our clients create more equitable enforcement solutions, and ultimately helps them claw back some of the revenue that they may be losing. I'm going to move now on to air quality and why is it important. Now this is a new visualisation which hopefully you haven't seen today from Clean Air Day, which is 16th of June this year, and I really like it. It's really simple and it really humanises what it is that happens. And pollution gets into our body. We breathe in pollution, it goes through our skin, and it gets into every part of our body and dirties up our organs. There's loads of stats about deaths and disease and how it affects children, but I like this one because it's really simple. And we breathe in bad air and it gets into our brains, our lungs, our liver, our hearts, and it stops them working as well as they should work. Really, really quite simple. And we now have the means to tell us exactly how dirty our air is, very locally and in real time, inside and outside. Now these are hyperlocal sensors. Like these are going up on lampposts and on buildings around our towns and our cities, in our built-up areas, outside our schools, outside our hospitals, and it's telling our decision makers how bad the air is. Really, really locally on every street and down to every minute of the day, 24 hours a day, constant monitoring. And these units are collecting, they're analysing, they're visualising lots and lots of the pollutants that are really bad for us: nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, particulate matter, sulphur, ozone, you name it. And this data, understanding it and helps understand the causes, the time of day, the weather, transport impacts, any external factors that we might have on the outdoor air quality, and can better develop mitigation and ultimately interventions to improve and clean up our air and help human health. My second case study is in South Wales. John will know this one, a colleague of mine. Now this is a case study in South Wales, and several factors were addressing the local air quality. You can see in the top left there's some quite heavy industry there, so some big polluting industry there. You've got the coast, you've got the M4 running north-south there, and you can see what we've done is we've put a load of sensors up, and this monitoring, this constant hyperlocal monitoring, is helping the council understand what is driving those pollutants. And is it the ships coming to dock? Is it traffic levels on the M4? What is it? And as you can see from the councillor there, we've been able to help him target actions, and some of these actions are working with the shipping industry to work to make sure that they're using the correct fuel, looking at the speed limit on the M4 and see what impact that might have on local air quality. So some real life examples of solutions that can really help air quality. I'm okay for time? Yeah. Moving on to decarbonisation. Now, why are we always talking about decarbonisation? And it's important. And why it's important to the planet and us as, I won't say transport professionals, but probably a lot wider group of professionals here in this room. And this target is tailored to transport professionals because, as you can see, us in the transport industry, that's not even come up on that slide. The colours are really funny. Trust me, there's a line that goes right across there. It's just between 100 and 150, and that is the transport sector, and hasn't really decarbonised for the last 30 years. Look at energy coming all the way down. Lots of other sectors decarbonisation. Transport, I'm a transport planner. Marston is a transport company. We need to support transport decarbonisation. It's the one that isn't coming down fast enough at all, apart from 2020. Right at the end, as you can see, where we all had to stay at home. So it's proven that it can be done. We can decarbonise transport, but at what cost to society and the economy for the last couple of years. And this is 2019 carbon emissions. You can see that most of it is from our cars. Cars are about 70% of carbon from transport. Domestic transport is from cars. And we have targets for air quality and carbon reduction, legally binding targets. We don't yet have any traffic reduction targets. Some London boroughs do, as part of their LIP, but they're not legally binding. Is that what we need really to help us hit our climate ambitions? The Mayor recently stated that London needs a 20% reduction in traffic to achieve its climate goals. And how can we do that? And bullet points in the middle, you would have seen all this before. These are tools that councils are delivering across the country. Active travel projects, electric vehicles. I was talking to a colleague earlier on electric vehicles. Public transport demand management, mode shift, traffic reduction, travel planning, all existing tools. And at the very bottom, I referred to my favourite piece of legislation ever, the Transport Act 2000. Wonderful piece of legislation. 22 years old now, and allows councils to implement congestion charging, workplace parking levy, clean air zones, 3 really powerful tools to help decarbonise transport. And on the far side, you can see all of these solutions have co-benefits. They all improve air quality, they all decrease noise, they all prevent congestion, help human health, and create jobs and growth for the economy. Right, my next case study, a couple more to go, is another enforcement contract we have with the DVLA. So if you haven't got a tax car, we will clamp you and take you away. That's what we do for central government. And we use clamps, that should say 20,000. We use 20,000 vehicle clamps a year. And they used to be provided from the Far East. Please don't ask me to pronounce the region that these used to be made in. It's in China, and we worked with our supplier, and we've had this shifted all the way to South Wales. So that's where all our clamps are made now. We've created 8 full-time jobs, 10,000 cardboard boxes saved, and the headline figure, 72 tonnes of carbon in transport alone per year saved by moving all our clamp production to South Wales. And this is our, talking about data, air quality, decarbonisation. This is how all 3 interact for me. This is Hammersmith on Fulham. This is where I used to work. Small London borough, just on the edge of Hyde Park. You can see it there in the far right. And this started off as a low traffic neighbourhood. I'm sure you've all heard about low traffic neighbourhoods. They've been in the press a lot over the last few years with COVID. And it's one of those that's enforced by our cameras with a flying motorcycle. My favourite sign. You want to talk about signs? My favourite sign. And It started off quite small at the bottom with camera enforcement and a few air quality monitors. Now, as you can see, all those dots are air quality monitors, 500 going up right across the borough, one on every street more or less. It gives us some really powerful data, really local, really real-time data. We've got our camera data coming through, we've got our enforcement back office data. And what this has resulted in is a huge improvement in air quality, 50% improvement in local air quality. 1 tonne of carbon saved per day because of traffic not driving through the area anymore. 75% of the traffic within the zones has gone, vanished, gone somewhere else, and 12% outside the zones, which is really interesting. And what we do with all this data, we use it to support other schemes in the rest of the borough. We share with the residents. This is one of the most supported low traffic neighbourhood schemes in the country. The residents are a core part of this. They've got access to all this data. They can see exactly what it is that is driving these schemes and some of the great results that we're getting. And my final topic for today is behaviour change. And for me, behaviour change is the key to absolutely everything. Everyone remember the London Olympics? 10 years ago now, almost 10 years ago. And I was a games maker. I was in charge of the Olympics in my borough, and the Olympic Transport Plan was fabulously well created, designed and funded, and it achieved a 30% reduction in traffic in London. And that's a similar figure of which now we're trying to achieve with the climate challenge we've got. So again, it can be done. We can reduce traffic by that amount. We just need the right tools and the right budgets to do it, and the right buy-in from the public. There's the Mayor's climate ambition on the right again, and the bottom graph here is road traffic over the last 2 years. Now you can see the behaviour change there. That is a drop-off of about 70% in road traffic as and when the COVID rules kicked in, and none of the roads were closed. This was pure behaviour change. It was forced upon us by the government, but this is exactly what happened during lockdown. And clean air zones, low emission zones, these are both behaviour change schemes. You can still drive through Bath, you can still drive through Glasgow. Our cameras will film you doing that, but you can still drive through those cities. If you have an older polluting car, you have to pay. Simple as that. And if you don't pay that, you get paid a fine. Simple as that. Nice and simple schemes. And but if you get but the idea is that you don't drive through the city. You buy a cleaner car. You take active travel. You walk. You cycle. You get the bus. So it really is trying to achieve behaviour change. And the data, back to data, is telling us that these schemes are effective. 13% reduction in NOx in Birmingham and CAS in the first 6 months. So these schemes are having a meaningful impact on outdoor air pollutants. And the final case study is Reading, quite close to London, and this is their LTP for Local Transport Plan 4, which we wrote for Reading. And this is based all around demand management. Now, it's one of those really interesting projects where the council was ambitious and they set out that they are going to work with the public, and this was the biggest engagement they had from the public. 8,000 people responded to this consultation, and they gave the public a range of solutions to achieve their policy of demand management. And again, they used the Transport Act 2000, my favourite legislation, if you remember. Workplace levy, clean air zones, congestion charge. They got the residents bought in that we need to achieve this reduction. How can we do it? These are the tools we've already got. This is existing legislation. We can apply these to our city. And final slide for me today is just some thoughts of where this is all going. And COVID has ravaged the country, the globe, and we're still recovering. And travel is different. Travel has changed, and some of it has changed for good. The commute will never be the same. Shopping trips will never be the same. We need to adjust our ambitions and our approaches accordingly, I believe. Working from home, internet shopping, these are all things that are staying. They're permanent now. COP26 has been and gone, and I think we're all a little bit more carbon literate now, following all the coverage. There's not a day goes past where I don't see a news article, some internet content, an advert about how good a product or service is from a carbon perspective. And I think we as a country are making really good progress. And we need to really continue with that, I think, and ask of our suppliers, how can you help me achieve my carbon goals? And finally, the Environment Act 2021, new legislation, consultations on this have already started. You may have seen this week, they've come out on collaborating in the public sector, so really interesting approaches there. And what we're going to have as well is legally binding particulate targets. The public sector, colleagues in the public sector, are going to be responsible for delivery. I have every expectation that is how that will come through. And we've got the technology and we've got the know-how to reduce pollution and reduce carbon. We just need to articulate that to our stakeholders and help them make the necessary lifestyle changes. And thank you for listening. That's me done.
Fantastic. Brilliant.